My role was made redundant when my company decided to dissolve the Singapore team.
I was laid off from the tech sector.
I was working in global finance firm as a product manager. Then I got laid off, unfortunately. I applied over 200 roles, but I only got like 4 responses.
I have been looking for a job for around 6 months already. I must have sent out at least 300 resumes already.
I didn't have any plan B. I didn't expect myself to be unemployed in my 30s.
It's really demoralizing.
I never expected to find myself unemployed in my 30s, especially since I believed that I was building a stable career in a stable company.
In my early 30s, I made a career switch from entertainment to journalism. I fell in love with my job and felt that finally I found my groove after over a decade of working. In so many ways, I felt that I was building up to the prime of my life in my 30s. But what happens if you lose your job involuntarily and worse, have trouble finding another one? Join me and my guests in this special 1-hour forum as we investigate 30-somethings who may be at risk of becoming 30-nothings. Here's what the numbers show. Those in their 30s saw unemployment rates increase for the second consecutive quarter to hit 2.6% in March 2025. It's the highest recorded since March 2023. How do we make sense of these numbers and how dire is the situation? Here are my guests. Lena, you talked about sending out over 300 CVs, and Yuzan, you as well. Tell us what you went through.
So I used AI to kind of edit my resume in order to fit the job applications or the job listings which I saw, because I understand that a lot of companies, they make use of systems that vet through resumes as part of the first phase. And if some keywords don't match the job listing, automatically you get filtered out. So in order to be a bit more strategic and tactical, I had to use AI to kind of like help me cheat in a sense, because the fact is everybody else will also be using AI, and if you don't use that, you're just going to be losing out. I really felt like it was a part-time job. Every other night I was just scrolling on LinkedIn, finding every single job listing that was related to my role. And I just massively just sent out applications for it every single day.
Lena, what are your thoughts? Did you do that too?
Wow, okay. So for me, I actually did not do that. I went through a more manual manner. I did cover letters for almost all of them that I applied to. And especially for the ones that I especially felt was a match, a great match. And then, yes, I applied for around 300, I think slightly more than that even, over the course of 6 months. And the response has been either complete rejections or they don't even get back. And I only landed like a few interviews out of all that number.
Every time you hit the send button, how did you feel?
I would feel like it was a gamble whether they would even get back at all, because I would see that on the portal itself, whenever a job was posted, within a few days there would be hundreds of applications. And it would be like pitting myself against hundreds of competitors in that sense. Yeah, so it's more about quantity now more than quality sometimes. I feel that way.
Yuzan, how many times were you rejected? Can you even remember?
Same as Lena as well. I've also sent out about 300 plus applications. In terms of rejections, maybe so out of 300, if I do the reverse way, I got about 10 plus interviews, so 290 plus rejection.
How did you feel every time you didn't make it again?
It was particularly stressful for me because there's a lot of commitments coming up for me this year. I have a new house coming up, a new BTO that's coming up this year. So my priority, at least for now, was to just get something to help me get back on my feet, no matter what sort of job it was.
I feel stressed for you just listening to your commitments. Patrick, let me ask you, and Cheryl as well, how serious is the situation for those in their 30s?
In terms of labour market stats, if you look at the figures just released, in fact, not too long ago, the first quarter, second quarter numbers compared to last year, I think unemployment in general has held steady. I wouldn't say there's a sharp rise or increase, but held steady. However, retrenchment numbers are still there, averaging about 3,005 per quarter. So yes, there's still job losses. There are people who are unemployed in that segment, particularly in the 30s. So definitely an issue. But on the ground,
Yeah. Are you paying particular attention? I mean, is it like, are there red flags that, hey, look, they are getting younger?
we also realized that previously, years ago, when you talk about layoffs, you talk about, termination of employment, it used to be maybe more the rank and file workers, but today even the professionals, managing executives get affected as well. So it's quite across the board.
Yeah, I think the unemployment amongst the Singaporeans in their 30s, in fact, the numbers that Patrick has just shared, it's quite modest. Those in their 30s, they are facing intense competition from the fresh graduates who are more junior. However, equipped with AI tools, they are actually able to gain 5 to 7 more years of experience easily compared to the mid-level professionals. So employers would question then, why should I pay 7K for an executive, when I can utilize AI tools, software, together with a much leaner team?
So exactly, in fact, the older you are, the more degrees you have, you end up face more challenges, or more vulnerable.
Yuzan and Lena, let me come back to you. You were supposed to be in the prime of your life. How is all this affecting you and your family, Yuzan?
Yeah.
You've got a 20-month-old. Congratulations, in order. How is it affecting you and your wife? And then how does it filter down to your little girl?
I mean, for me, I try not to show my emotions to my family because I don't want my wife to get affected. And if she's affected, it will also affect how she takes care of the household and how she takes care of my daughter as well. So as much as possible, I just try to keep everything to myself. And I feel like, there's also a stigma with guys, right, who try to show emotions. And every single time, guys try to show emotions, we are, looked upon as, oh, we are weak, we cannot stand up for ourselves. We are supposed to be, that father figure in that family to show no signs of cracks or, emotional, distress in the family.
How long did you manage to keep it from your wife?
As soon as I got a termination letter, I just told her immediately because I find that it was the best course of action. Then, she took it very well, but in terms of me showing my emotions to her, I kept all that in until now. But obviously it has manifested, there are things that you can keep, but physical things, it manifested in eczema flare-ups, in insomnia, stuff like that.
I think I have a similar story to him. So I will try to act more myself as usual, but it slowly bites away at you. At times, you can't sleep at night. You're just worried about paying the bills and everything. And then I even started dabbling into things that I would usually not do, like freelance jobs, side gigs, and all that, just to get bits and pieces of money, just to support the family. Because me too, I have a 18-month-old. Just very similar to you, yeah. But I already have a house, so I have to pay for the house. So not having a job, you don't have CPF or whatever, so you have to make up for that shortfall also.
What are you doing in the meantime to help to earn some money?
I'm doing freelance gigs like face painting for kids' parties, and also some live streaming. Yeah,
Okay.
like selling of products.
This is the UV Twin Toothbrush Sterilizer.
So it's like whatever I can get my hands on that can earn me money, I would just try it.
What about your husband?
My husband, he's also unemployed because he was laid off. His company closed down in March. He was in the recruitment industry with an agency. And same as me, similar story, he has applied. And worse than me, he has not gotten any responses.
So what's he doing in the meantime?
He is working part-time selling durians. Yeah,
And
very
how
different.
old is your husband?
He's 2 years older than me, he's 34.
Yuzan, I know that you became famous on TikTok because of something that you did.
Yeah,
Let's take a look.
I really did not believe this would work. I really did not. So last week, I printed a bunch of advertisements, placed it at the back of my Grab car, kind of like advertising that I was looking for a role, right? In that week, I picked up 34 passengers. And out of the 34 passengers, 24 of them scanned. 24 people scanned my QR code. That is 24 out of 34, 70%. A lot of the passengers started talking to me. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that you got retrenched. If I do see any role suitable for your profile, I'll reach out to you.
That was a good move. Very cute. Okay, so why did you become a Grab driver?
That was, I think, the quickest and easiest thing that I could go into to earn sort of like a higher income for myself, at least on a part-time basis. Because when I was looking at the market, part-time jobs in F&B, I think these are the most easily accessible part-time jobs that you can get. They're paying like $10 to $15. And I've previously driven for Grab before. So I know roughly that you can make a little bit more than that $15 per hour by driving Grab.
Okay, Uzen, you did a very innovative thing with the QR code. Did you find a job? But wait, don't tell me yet. We're going to take a short break. We'll come right back for the answer. Welcome back. Before the break, I asked Uzen, who has been working as a Grab driver while waiting for a full-time job, if his marketing gimmick asking passengers to offer him job leads worked out. Let's get the answer. So, Uzen, tell me, did you actually find a job?
I found a job already. Just to really clarify, I did not directly find a job through whatever I was doing directly, right? It was more of, the fact that I was campaigning myself. Interviewers, the recruiters, they saw that drive, that creativity, and that determination in me. And that's why my current employer, they decided to take a chance on me because of that, but not exactly because they offered me a job through what I was doing.
I see. But regardless, well done and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Re-entry rates into the job market for those between the ages of 30 and 39 saw a 23% fall from its peak in 2022, slightly higher than the older age groups. Simply put, fewer people in their 30s are getting re-employed after losing their jobs.
If I'm not in my 30s, why should I care about these numbers?
I think because if you look at the retrenchment numbers and the profile of those losing their jobs and unemployed, no one is spared. So it's both cyclical and structural unemployment. So, even though, you may not be impacted, but, the figures shows that uniformly, when companies' business is down, when they decide to reshore, offshore, or even close down their operations, or even product lines, Sometimes when they close certain product lines, the entire value chain are laid off or lose their job. So no one is spared. So I think even if not in your 30s, I think we are concerned because that's the age where many are in the midst of their careers, trying to propel their careers. And of course, you may have family members, friends, or even relatives in that space. And this is the exact age group where sometimes you have dual responsibilities, caring for aged parents, grandparents, at the same time also young children. So a lot of exacting pressures.
Yeah, I think the unemployment amongst the Singaporeans in their 30s, I think what's more worrying really for the 30s is the re-entry. Given that with young children, dependents, elderly parents, mortgages to pay for, it presents a very concerning situation.
Yeah, actually, I want to go to you, Zen, on that. I mean, because of the financial situation when you were jobless, did you have to cut down on your expenses, on your consumption?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think a lot of things that we have to cut down on, daily expenses, groceries. Even I had to resort to eating, like sometimes during lunch, I just had to resort to either skipping as I was driving Grab. So I had to skip my lunches. Sometimes I don't take my lunch at all. Or even if I do have lunch, sometimes I just buy, the supermarket, they sell like a small box of tofu for like 90 cents or 2 for 180. So I just eat that for my lunch.
Selena, you are a degree holder. Your husband is also a degree holder and he went to sell durians. Mm-hmm. I mean, with a university degree, did you ever think that you have to do this?
No, honestly. So when I left my job, I thought I would be able to just take a 1-2 months break and then find a job in just a very short while. And then I was just very shocked at this current situation that I'm in right now. So I did not expect this. Yeah.
A survey by the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy and Ong Teng Cheong Labour Leadership Institute uncovered that 4.3% of degree holders were in full-time jobs, but earning less than $2,000 a month. This is termed as the severely underemployed group. Smack in the mid-career bracket and typically had 10 to 15 years of work experience. It shows that even with a degree and experience, you might still be underpaid or underutilized. Now, this was a survey released way back in 2018, covering over 1,600 workers. There has not been another large-scale survey on underemployment in Singapore since. Is this issue worse now?
Let's talk about underemployment. Should we be worried?
Actually, underemployment, there are two kinds. Yeah, the time-based and the non-time-based. So Ministry of Manpower actually monitors through the labour market stats the time-based underemployment, meaning that, well, you can work 9 hours, but you only work 7 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours. So you're not fully utilizing. So in a way, you're underemployed. So
Okay. Meaning that actually I'm willing to work 9 hours, but I cannot find work that will keep me busy for 7 hours.
Correct. So that's
for 9 hours.
time-based. That's monitored. But I don't think that's a major issue. The major issue is more the non-time-based underemployment.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the skills-based.
Exactly.
Right.
So like as Lena shared, the university degree, but you're doing a much smaller job than what you're trained for, you're equipped for, or qualified for. So that's where the challenge, confronts us.
Yeah.
And within non-time-based underemployment, we have those who are voluntarily wanting to be underemployed, and you have those who are involuntarily wanting to be underemployed. In fact, the NTUC and the labour movement 2 years ago, we did a dipstick survey with about 2,000 workers in general, different ages, different life stage, and not a major issue, but we are particularly concerned about those that are involuntarily underemployed because beyond their control, they have to do a smaller job. However, we also, through the stats from that dipstick survey, we also realized those in their 30 to 39 generally are usually those who are voluntarily underemployed for caregiving arrangements.
Yeah, that would be me in my 30s.
Yes.
At some point, I voluntarily took on part-time jobs for my
Exactly.
family. But in the case of Lena and you, Zen, it's involuntary.
I think underemployment is actually hidden unemployment. You are shortchanging what your skill set can actually bring to the table. It could be in time of desperation because 1 month, 2 months into the job search, sending out 200 CVs already, right? You get desperate and you think, should you just shortchange yourself and get any job you want? There's no right or wrong answer because we have financial burdens in our 30s, right? If you do not have the luxury of a double working spouse arrangement, you will just have to take up any gig that comes along and that pays the bills. Yeah, that's a sad truth.
So what we are doing, I did a dipstick survey 2 years ago, so we are doing another one later this year. But well, we are in the process of it, and we hope to share more details to see how the magnitude of the problem is. I wouldn't say it's a big problem, but what we are particularly worried about are those who are involuntarily underemployed. So that's where we want to, as what Lena shared earlier, her personal anecdote, I thought that's something we need to be watchful of because we want everyone to fully realize their full potential and maximize the skills and to minimize this, what we call the mismatches. Meaning if you have that skills, you have that qualification, you should do a job that matches that, not something below, so that we raise productivity since we are very big on productivity.
Yuzan, let me ask you, how did you feel that here I am, university degree, I worked at getting it, and this is what I do? One word, how did you feel?
Stagnant.
Lena?
Mortified.
Mortified.
Yeah.
So we are seeing more university graduates over the years. You guys don't feel it, but during my time, if you're a grad, you're a pretty big deal, But these days, we are seeing so many fresh graduates. Is this a case of too many grads? What do you guys think?
I don't think so. Yeah, I have friends around me that are facing a similar situation to me. And also, so what happened in my previous company was the company closed down the Singapore office just months after I was gone. So it's not just like singular people, it's like entire offices. Similar case to my husband also. His entire company closed down. And then people around my age group, not fresh grads, they are all thrown into the industry just like that. So it's not because the fresh grads are taking our jobs, it's because the jobs are getting lesser from my point of view.
In my role as Executive Secretary for UWEI, which is a union looking after manufacturing in electronic space, in the last 3 years, the sector has laid off easily about more than 7,000 workers. So definitely, where companies restructure, reorganize, or even sometimes re-strategize because they decide to close their operations here, big multinationals, unavoidable. And therefore, regardless of which level of hierarchy you are in, what age or which life stage, when they close operations, it impacts a lot of workers.
Okay, so if almost every other person is a university graduate, does it mean that I need more? Get another certificate, for example, additional certs or master degree or PhD?
It depends on what line you are in as well. But I feel like the most essential skill for you is to stay relevant despite whatever ages you are in, whether you're a fresh grad, you're mid-level, you're senior level. The key is to evolve with times instead of holding on to what used to work 5 years back, 10 years back. Because even in an AI industry where you're hired right now, the roles would change as well. Say, for example, retail and e-commerce. How e-commerce has taken over retail. People would think that jobs were lost, but actually in replacement of the lost jobs, there came armies of logistics staff, digital managers, delivery people, right? So I think it's a redistribution of jobs rather than a loss of job.
Both you, Zen and Lena, are from the IT and tech sector. Is this the sector that we should be worried about?
The tech sector has undergone a bit of a reorganization and restructuring. I mean, especially during the pandemic, there was a big drive towards digitalization, robotization, even AI itself, and even the fintech space and tech space. And the last 2 years, we've been watching this space in the ICT sector, a much softer environment, much lower demand. So I think it's both cyclical as well as structural. I mean, we have moved quite a bit to generative AI, agentic AI. So I think the nature of the demand, the kind of jobs that are available now, a bit different.
I do think that being in the tech industry, you are at the forefront of being affected by these layoffs because things just evolve so rapidly, right? But not to say that other sectors are not spared. They are not spared. For example, the banking industry, when you are doing more process-driven, more administrative work, less solutions-driven, less relationship building, then you are at risk. Even the manufacturing, logistics, things that AI can easily take over. Yeah, take over is the word. So the key is how to stay relevant, how to stay connected, and how to stay visible in this industry.
Now we'll take a short break, but coming up, we will review what happens when tech companies decide to retrench workers.
So the company I was in was facing a restructuring. So we knew about 3 months before the actual period where I was laid off, and it was in cycles. So mine was the third cycles, which I got to know that I was laid off.
In January 2025, they started laying off a lot of people. And then eventually, the regional offices, quite a lot of people lost their jobs. And then the biggest thing that happened was the Singapore office closed down. So my colleagues and I, all of us, we were asked to go.
I was laid off from the tech sector as a product marketing specialist. I was actually working as a contractor through an agency. So just one fine day, the agency actually just served me a notice, or rather just served me a termination letter. And on the termination letter, it just said that the client no longer required my services. And then I was to serve that 1 month notice. And basically after serving that 1 month notice, I was left unemployed.
Layoffs in the tech sector continued this year. Among them, tech giant Microsoft, which announced in July that it was letting go nearly 9,000 employees. That's 4% of its global workforce, including those in Singapore. Facebook parent Meta trimmed about 5% or 4,000 of its lowest performers globally. Google trimmed about 200 jobs in its global business unit, and Salesforce cut more than 1,000 jobs.
So while retrenchment numbers have eased in 2025, what we're seeing now is more high-profile global tech layoffs that reverberated in Singapore, unlike in 2024, which saw mostly localized reductions by mid-sized firms.
Welcome back. Joining us now are two guests from the tech sector. Yolin, you advise tech companies. Take us inside their minds. Why is it that they are so aggressively firing and hiring?
One thing that we need to be aware recently is that tech companies are here to disrupt the market. They have been here the last few decades as such. And usually how tech companies work is that they will need to be able to run faster and be more competitive than the traditional incumbents, right? If you look back 10, 20 years ago, there was a wave of emerging tech. They wanted to catch this wave. So they would hire very aggressively for certain functions. But as they mature, they will need to pivot and move their functions accordingly. And the last few years have been a perfect storm. There's been not just AI, there's also been the geopolitics, there's also been an increase in cost of capital, and there's also been increase in the jitteries in investors. And all this are causing tech companies to say, oh no, what should I do with my company? Where should we go? And this is actually not very different from traditional companies as well. Banks, financial institutions, big FMCG all go through the same thing. It's just that tech companies are making these changes in a very compressed time because it's so competitive.
So what I'm hearing in the first part of your answer is the fact that it's the way tech companies work. But I think it's cold comfort for those who have been let go. Are you seeing more people in their 30s being retrenched?
Unfortunately so, we're seeing that.
Why is that so?
We're actually in a phase where now we have this AI, we have also geopolitics, and lots of businesses are actually moving out of, let's say, the country, right? And people in their 30s are, number one, not senior enough to command the company resources to move things forward. And at the same time, they're not as agile as the younger peers who to actually catch up as fast as they do. So they're in a very sticky situation, and their 10 years of experience is actually at risk of being devalued by somebody with 2 years, but with the right tools.
This is frightening. I mean, when I was in my 30s, I thought I was able to learn very quickly compared to now.
Yeah.
But people in their 30s now cannot learn as fast as those in their 20s, let's say. Are we going to see things get worse?
Yeah, I think increasingly because of the global uncertainties, we talk about geopolitical challenges and of course tariffs, and of course with the advent of Gen AI, definitely all sectors, all industries, all organizations will be impacted. And
To what extent is Gen AI or AI to be blamed, Joshua?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the layoffs that's been happening, exactly as Yulin was mentioning as well, I don't think that AI yet is the key factor or the key cause of all these layoffs that are happening. I think a lot of it is still for market reasons, for things like the COVID boom previously, companies overhiring, overspending, and then followed by a time where funding wasn't as easy when it came to 2023, 2024, and that's where layoffs and companies shutting down happened. But it is true that AI is going to play a big role, and it is going to cause a lot of low-level, a lot of kind of more task-heavy types of jobs to go away. But I think a lot of this impact hasn't yet happened yet. I think we're only still seeing the very early days of it for now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, from the recruitment end, actually, we have observed the same. What Joshua mentioned, post-COVID, there was just pent-up demand because when COVID hit, everyone didn't know what to do, how to respond. Hiring freezes happened, offers given out were retracted. People were just deciding, okay, what should I do now? Should I hire or just not? Yeah, so post-COVID, during the recovery, they started to hire and overhire. That leads us to 2 to 3 years later, companies then start to think, should I be right-sizing and how should I restructure my business?
What about on the ground in your business? You are from HR. Are you seeing really people are losing jobs as a result of AI? We hear that a lot. Oh, it's because of AI. But at the same time, studies are showing that AI hasn't really taken over our jobs yet.
I think AI is not the threat over here. The threat is whether you adapt to AI. In fact, AI can be a very good partner to you if you choose to learn the right tools, be more digital fluent. In fact, you are able to utilize AI to value add in terms of your time, your output. The key is really to stay relevant and to learn.
Yeah, so I think that while it's not, a lot of it is still kind of market reasons which cause a lot of these layoffs to happen. But people especially people in their 30s, I'd say this is where there's a middle wedge that's happening, where if we're looking at fresh grads or people earlier on, there's a little bit more adaptability, a little bit more they're coming in and being able to kind of move around, whereas people in their 30s tend to be in this middle wedge as well. I don't think that this is purely an age group factor. I think it's much more about the type of role and the type of job that people are doing. So AI is going to impact a lot of what I kind of call something like a task zombie type of job, where if people are focusing a lot on, I just want to do these tasks and not thinking on a high level of what they're like, then those are the types of jobs that will get most impacted by AI because that's the kinds that get automated as a whole. And so it tends to be that people in their 30s, they're just at that middle wedge where if they're more, for people that are kind of higher up from there, they tend to be more senior strategic roles. Those are less susceptible to AI taking over right now. Whereas if we're looking below that, we're looking at people who are just coming into the workforce, a lot more adaptable, still figuring out what are things. And those in their 30s do have a tendency then to be in this band where they are doing very task-heavy jobs, just building up and just getting ingrained in it, but still being at that expensive level without that same level of adaptability as well.
Would it be accurate to say that they are sandwiched? People in their 30s, they are somewhat sandwiched.
I would say so. I would say it's kind of that sandwich band where it's kind of a middle ground of not being senior enough to get that strategic or leadership type roles yet, whereas not kind of just coming in where it's cheap, adaptive, and able to kind of take on a lot of new things. Yeah.
Patrick, to you, the million-dollar question. What is the labour movement doing in response to this?
I think a good starting point is that we have a very tight labour market in Singapore, but I totally agree with Joshua. Jobs will be impacted. You can't avoid that. When we did our various dipstick surveys and some analysis on what's happening in different sectors and markets, we realized, yes, there may be jobs impacted, but there will be also new jobs coming up and a lot of transformation in industries to leverage on whatever existing manpower they have so that they can segue them into some of these new jobs where possible. So you would expect to see more new kinds of jobs, new in-demand skills, and of course, different industries will behave differently. Some are a bit more ahead of the curve. Some are still quite nascent in adopting some of these Gen AI, etc. So I think that's the balance. And in the labour movement, we've been on a big drive towards creating what we call the company training committees. We have worked with more than 3,000 companies, company by company, to see how can we make sure that we can train the workers, transform the company to keep pace with all these changes.
Do you ever feel like you're playing catch-up?
It depends on industries. Some industries are already quite ahead of the curve. In the professional services sector, in the financial sector, they are quite ahead of the curve, adopting Gen AI, many of these trainings and robotization, digitalization, quite a while back. But some industries may be still quite manual in nature. So therefore, we have partnered some of these companies who are catching up to build up the new capabilities in terms of leveraging all these technology and tools.
Those who are catching up, specifically which industries are they? I
think those industries that were more manpower intensive, for example, wholesale retail trade, including hospitality, including F&B. I think these are the traditional ones that require quite heavy reliance on manpower. We have a very tight labour market policy in Singapore, so therefore there's a big drive towards helping to train the workers, transform the companies, and keep pace with all these changes.
The real game changer lies in using AI to raise productivity and create new value through every part of the economy.
That was Prime Minister Lawrence Wong talking about the relevance of AI in our economy. How can we ensure that we are retrenchment-proof, especially when we are competing with those who may be more equipped in AI than we are? We talk solutions to help people in their 30s find jobs. That's coming up. Welcome back. We are talking about being unemployed in your 30s and what you can do about it. We've brought back Yuzan and Lena. Now, I also want to bring your attention to a question from a viewer. 33-year-old Nur Adila was recently retrenched due to business restructuring. Let's take a look.
With so many companies that's already outsourcing offshore agents, and we have a growing concern that AI might be taking over, especially for customer support. Because AI and bots can already resolve a surface level issues on omni-channel. So how can candidates prepare themselves to remain relevant in this industry?
How can candidates prepare themselves to remain relevant? Joshua?
Yeah, so I think there are a few things here. So the first is that the hard truth with a lot of these industries, especially ones like customer support or ones which are, for example, even parts of let's say, copywriting, is that a lot of it will be very heavily impacted. And we can't run away from that fact that it will be heavily impacted as well. So the first question I ask to anyone in these industries and are getting affected is, what is their actual kind of interest level and kind of passion for these types of roles? If it is that it is stepped into it just because that seemed like something that is required to go into, or it's just something that kind of surfaced up, then the question is there something else adjacent to it that may be good to learn as well? Because if these industries and these jobs are going to be affected, then it's about looking for adjacent spaces. So for example, if it's looking at customer support, potential other ones could be ones like customer success, parts in operations, or even looking at areas in marketing as well, where it could be relevant for kind of learning those things. And the more kind of cross-functional roles, the more kind of that spread of picked up skill sets, the better. And that's because the ones that are difficult for AI to automate are when people need to think on a high level of strategically, how do we run these roles? How do we lead a team to be able to do these as well? In the future, what can and likely will happen is that what we call AI agents are going to take over a lot of these kind of starting low-level jobs. But the people who are managing these AI agents will remain as well. And so it is very kind of feasible within the next few years that a lot of these roles will move towards almost every single person will be a manager, and they will be managing AI agents instead of humans.
Can you define for me AI agents? What are they?
Yeah, so I'd say an AI agent is basically an AI which can take over or can run a lot of the things that a human can, and not just here's exactly the task, but they can do things like, for example, on top of just answering a question, they can maybe look at a few tools that are existing, run some of those tools, do long-running things as well, help you to research things, look at the web. And it's this ability, given a particular task, make use of the things around them, the tools, as well as the context to be able to perform that job for you.
So basically, it's like ChatGPT. Give the prompt, then you go and do it, is it?
Yes, but it can actually perform tasks like maybe respond to a user, help them to trigger a refund, or even be able to, let's say, research the web for some information as well.
What do you think of that? Do you think you will be able to work with multiple AI agents?
I think for a person in marketing, we seldom use AI for these sort of specific tasks, because for us, we have to be very creative. And a lot of generative AI, they take data from what's existing, right? So for us, as a marketer, we need to learn how to be creative, how to come up with new campaigns, new ideas. But at the same time, I think there are some tasks that can be automated via AI. I think a lot of generative AI photos and videos that can be used to generate assets for our campaigns. I think all these can be used with AI, and I think the key over here is learning how to better understand the AI, what it can do, and how to better prompt these AIs to get what you want as the final product.
Lena, are you prepared to do this?
Oh, I think it will take some time to learn it. For now, if it can do tasks for us, then we have to think about how to manage, what kind of tasks do we need help doing, and then just manage that. So it actually takes away that manual part of things. So it's like having a personal assistant. Yeah.
To be honest, it all sounds a little bit daunting. But Yolin, I want to ask you, are there jobs that are considered forever jobs? For example, Joshua is in AI. Can he lose his job?
I work with a lot of AI friends, and I think Joshua's job is the most stressful of all of us. Because imagine if you're doing AI, right? Things are changing so fast. I don't think Joshua has very good night's sleep, right? Right. AI, like from what I hear from Joshua, is taking away the boring jobs. And I'm an optimist. So I think that for those in their 30s, it's actually a really good time. Because now you're forced to be creative. You're forced to find out what you really want to do. Uzan, to your point, AI can be very creative. I've seen it in action, that it can come up with ideas. So in a few years' time, and this is what I tell my young folks, they are actually competing with AI, and so are all of us, right? I think forever jobs, there's no such thing as forever jobs. There's no such thing as stability in my mind for whatever industry. And I believe that we can protect ourselves to not just survive but thrive by two things. Number one, talking to people, because it's something that AI cannot do, and have a pleasant conversation with people and gain their trust. And number two is be able to have judgment, strong judgment to question AI, to use it to say, no, this is not good enough, it can be better. Uzan, you can use that in your job. This can be better. Come on, give me something better. And I think this is something that it's a good place for us, because we are going to be forced to do not just the mundane stuff that we are doing day in, day out, but we're going to push ourselves to a new level of creativity and productivity.
I think I really like what Yolin said about questioning AI, because from what I speak to people who use Gen AI, they say that you cannot imagine how many times they can be wrong, which means that your prompts and your follow-up, again, it links to critical thinking, is going to be more important than ever. I want to ask both yourself and Joshua as well. AI may be taking away some jobs, but can it create more and value-added jobs?
So definitely, I think that while there is a number of jobs being impacted and taken away as well, at the same time, there are a new range of jobs that are being created, and this is a new band that has never existed before. So to give one example, now there is the idea of an AI engineer, even a prompt engineer, or one where someone needs to kind of orchestrate these AI models together. And the reason why is because, to give an example, right now our AI models are great at maybe doing a particular task, but it doesn't have all the context. It doesn't have maybe information about our own customers. It doesn't have information about what are in the kind of tribal knowledge between other people's heads as well. And so someone needs to bring in all that information, put it together to give it to the AI so that it can do this task. And so the types of jobs that can come up could be ones where, for example, it's being able to orchestrate these AI models together, being a manager for these AI agents, or even being able to come up with the right questions to be able to ask them so that the AI can actually be effective as well.
Right. So my worry when I hear that is that can I actually learn fast enough before the AI scene changes, and then I am obsolete again? Whatever skills I have are no longer relevant. That's my main question. But I think more pressing is also Yuzen is in marketing in a telco company. Will his new job be at risk?
So I can't say a blanket thing for an entire industry where, for example, all of marketing will be safe and there will be no impact around it. The truth is, AI is very general right now, which means almost all industries as a whole is going to be impacted. Then it's about, for Zen itself, what sort of role, what sort of position is he kind of carrying himself out in? As he's mentioning as well, not just wanting to maybe just do the graphic design or just do the video, but being able to think on a higher level of maybe what are the campaigns, how do I make sure that I understand the company goals and run those? That's the best kind of position to be in, because it's not just doing the low-level tasks where someone is giving the individual tasks and everything's all thought out and just implementing that. If you can think on a higher level where it's understanding and figuring out what are even the problems to solve, handling very ambiguous types of problems, that's the best position to be in.
Many industries are realigning. Mergers and acquisitions are common occurrence these days, including telcos. Will M&As affect jobs as well?
I just did a workshop for a telco company from overseas. They came over to Singapore to learn from the best. And my sense is that actually it's the telcos themselves that are reinventing innovation and trying to see where they can fit into AI. So I'm seeing that telcos are now going into areas that they don't usually go into. They go into entertainment, fintech, payment, even e-commerce. So I'm seeing this reverse trend. And I think if telco decides that they want to flex their muscles and have the right skills and have the right people, they are able to, then they will be the next disruptor. So.
Okay, interesting. So Lena, I want to come to you. How tough is the job market for you right now?
Well, so currently, if you apply for a job, right, you can find that, I said before that within a few days' time, there will be like hundreds of applicants for one job. And then you won't hear back from many of them. Like maybe 90% won't even reply to you. Some of them will tell you that, oh, we've moved on with someone else. And then when you really land those interviews, so I've gone for 4 myself and then reached the end stage for around 2 of them. I think that was like the 3rd or 4th interview. And then they tell me that they've gone on with someone else. So it seems like there's a lot of people vying for that same opportunity and really fighting it all out for that. Because I did try very hard, and so I did lose out on that point. So I feel that those people are much stronger.
If I were you, I would be thinking that, is it just me? Am I not good enough?
Yeah.
How do you get yourself out of that?
Okay, so I did fall into a rut like a few months period at the beginning, especially when I got all those rejections. But how I got myself out of it was I tried to think maybe I can do something more. It might be an opportunity, like she said, you can explore new things, see what's available, because jobs are changing. So maybe take it as a chance to pursue my passion, which is the art. So I did venture into art, and also I ventured into live streaming. So it's like a cool thing right now to be able to like actually face the audience and sell something. It's like something I always wanted to try.
Yolin, is she doing the right thing? I mean, do something, even if it's not related to what you are really doing. What advice do you have?
Absolutely. You should definitely be doing something, and it's something that you like, but you make sure that it pays the bills, right? So it's something as a balance that I'm seeing, and go after the areas that you are good at. So for example, Felina, I think you're very good with people, and I think it's a skill that 20-year-olds don't have yet. 40 years old are already quite experienced. You're in a very sweet spot. So instead of sending CVs out, I think you should just go out and talk to more people. because then your personality will come out and people will see opportunities.
Yeah. And I think personally I've learned over the years that sometimes you need to take one step back before you can move 2 steps forward. Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you so much for sharing your stories as well as your perspectives. And to those of you who are watching at home, we hope that this has given you a bit more food for thought. And if you're in search of a job right now, all the very best. This has been Talking Point. Thank you.